business. The pulse of the city. GR 1530.
WYGR, Wyoming, Grand Rapids.
And GR 94.9.
W235BN, Grand Rapids.
Available worldwide at WYGR.net.
What's going on, Grand Rapids? This is your main man, Zahi.
And the ladies are Raj, and you are in the Cipher on 94.9 FM. Here every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. giving you that real hip-hop, that neo-soul, and all that good for your mind music to get you going.
Oh, yeah. Well, today we have a special guest for you. Saladin Allah will be talking to us about politics. Let's see who we have on the phone line. WYGR, hello.
Saladin.
How you doing, bruh?
I'm excellent, G. How you?
I'm good. I cannot complain. Well,
yeah.
You are live on the air in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Okay.
All right. Well, as we talked about before, you know, we wanted to talk about exactly why we should be involved in politics, because, you know, there's a stigma amongst black people and amongst conscious people especially, that we should not be as involved in politics as we really should be. So first, I guess, give us a quick background on who you are and how you're qualified to speak on this subject, and kind of give us, you know, your general take on politics.
Okay. Well, first off, my name is Saladin Quinaya Allah. I'm born and raised here in Niagara Falls, New York, where I'm actually calling from. And I'm 38 years old. And for the last 15 years, I've been doing a lot of youth outreach and community activism within the city and within the region that I live in. And then also, one reason why I've been able to connect with brothers like yourself and other people around the country and around the world is that a lot of my youth mentorship, my speaking engagements that I also do in community outreach, I've worked collaboratively with people all over the place. So for the last 15 years, I've basically been doing a lot of grassroots initiatives and also working within the nonprofit sector as a youth mentor or designing my own youth mentorship programs. And leading up to 2013, this was our first, most recent election year. And a lot of people in the community was encouraging me to run to represent this district as a county legislator. And before I actually decided to run for that political position, I gauged the type of support that I would get from the community. And once I saw that a lot of people would be willing to support me, I decided to make my announcement. I actually made it on July 4th, 2013. And since then, I've been actively campaigning. I actually won the primary election for the Working Party's family. I'm endorsed by the Green Party. And then I created my own party line called the Niagara Youth Party that I'm running on in the general election November 5th. So in deciding to run for political office, I told myself up front that, you know, like you mentioned, a lot of our people, and then just people in general, don't have a lot of confidence and faith in the political process anymore. And that's simply because of the way that certain elected officials have utilized the political process not to benefit the overall community and the needs and the wants of the people, but they've often used that process to enrich themselves personally or to just look out for their own close circle of family and friends. And when it comes down to politics, politics by definition just simply means the power or the science of power and influence. Science comes from the Latin root word sire, which means to know. So politically, or to say that a person is involved in politics is a person that doesn't realize that you use politics each and every day of your life. I mean, a child that's crying for milk from his mother is utilizing politics because it's utilizing its knowledge or its awareness of influence to get what it wants. Animals use politics. So politics is something that everybody utilizes, but a lot of people don't want to be involved in it in a formal context as far as being involved in a political process, which is really the most important way that people should be involved, because now you have people who are in actual positions to utilize power and influence to impact your everyday life based upon the decisions that they make. Like I said, I'm running for the county legislator position, so that position I will have the ability, the power, and the influence to create laws and to also modify laws that impact the people in my district that I'll be serving.
Right.
So me going through the political process and campaigning, I've been learning a lot that a lot of people need to learn in regards to how to effectively transform their own communities by being aware of the ways that politics have been used to either positively or negatively influence your everyday life.
Right. Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that, because I noticed that a lot of our people here in Grand Rapids, if you didn't know, the station you're currently on is the only black FM station. And if I'm not mistaken, it's the first black FM station in this city. You know, we're 2 hours, right. We're 2 hours outside of Detroit. So, you know, we feel a lot of the hurt from politics that goes on down there, you know, as far as the Kwame Kilpatrick situation.
Yeah.
We feel a lot of that, you know, even though we're 2 hours away. Right. So, you know, people feel powerless here where we get all of the influence from the capital, which is Lansing, and from Detroit. And then when you come into our own inner city and our own downtown and find that it's, you know, highly Republican influence here. And, you know, it doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican, we all have something good and something bad to bring to the table. But we find that we're not considered in the political agenda of these people downtown. You know, so it's interesting that you say that, because we do have to realize the amount of power we do have if we come together and, you know, choose one common cause to advocate for politically. So with your party, what was the name of your party again?
It's called the Niagara Youth Party. And the reason I created it is simply because people don't want anything to do with politics. So one thing that I wanted to do is to be a translator. And what that means is, with any arena of life that you get involved in, it has its own nomenclature or its own naming system, or the way in which people communicate in that arena. If I worked as a carpenter, carpenters have their own language to identify and to communicate with other carpenters. If you're a music engineer, or you produce hip hop, we have our own nomenclature for people who's in that particular arena in life. Cats that hustle on the block, they got their own language too. So in order to effectively understand what is actually going on in these arenas and how you fit in there, what's going on, y'all? Yeah, how you actually fit in there, it's important to be aware of what's going on, man. It's important to understand the language, the naming system, and the words people use to communicate and transfer ideas in that arena. So sometimes people feel powerless because they haven't acquired the knowledge of what it is that they want to engage or that they should have a voice in.
Right.
And creating the Niagara Youth Party was a way for me to make the political process accessible to the average everyday person that don't want nothing to do with politics, because as soon as people say Democrat or Republican, a lot of people, they don't even really know what the principles of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party is. They just know that that's politics, I don't want nothing to do with it.
Right.
But when I created the Niagara Youth Party, I wanted to make it, you know, I designed my emblem and everything, seeding or flowering plant to represent growth and development. And I wanted to make it easily understandable to the people that I will be representing. My core principles of the party is youth outreach, number one. That's one of the main things that I'm promoting in the community because that's what my background is. Another one of the principles is crime prevention. Another one of the principles is localism, or building a local economy, basically meaning we need to pool our own resources and, like you just mentioned, advocate for one common cause and work together as one and identifying our own resources and skills that we have. Instead of waiting for somebody to come from the outside to save us, we need to save ourselves. And then the last fundamental principle of the Niagara Youth Party is health and wellness. And in our county that I'll be representing, over 60% of the people that live here are either overweight or obese. So health and wellness is something that's very important and critical to our growth and development, not just as a people, but just as a human family and just as a community that I'll be representing. So because I'm coming from that angle and that approach, I said I'm going to be an interpretator, meaning I'm becoming more aware of the language or the nomenclature that is spoken in political arenas. You know, buzzwords that mean one thing to the people that is a part of that arena, but to everybody else it may mean something different. So, like, for example, if you have, you know, people in the political arena talking about, you know, what's important to growth, what's important to building a local economy is we have to create a critical mass. They may just say that and not break it down to people so that they understand what they're really talking about.
Right.
What I do is I put it in everyday common language so people can understand what this literally means to you, why you need to be aware of this, and then once you have the knowledge of this, how you can act upon it in a wise way. So I'm utilizing all of the principles that I've learned, just culturally speaking, in the way I view life, and just representing myself in this arena too, because, you know, we are supposed to be lords of all worlds.
Right.
You know, and thorough whatever arena in life that we go into. And as far as politically, I've just become a lot more aware of how we can really make changes on a local level by being aware of the ways in which, you know, policies are created, and how to even be involved in policies being created and having a voice in that. So, you know, aside from the educational piece of informing people about the importance of being involved in local politics, I've also had to and continuously educate people on what a county legislator is, what they do, and what you can hold them accountable for. Because a lot of people in my district that I'll be representing, if you don't want to have anything to do with politics, then obviously you probably don't know who your politicians are, right, what they do, and what you can call upon them for. So I've had to consistently educate people on that too. This is what I'm doing. This is what you can hold me accountable to. Okay. You know, and then additionally to that, another thing that I've been doing is just informing people about how to get involved in transforming their community on a local level in comparison to just relying on a regional or national level. And it's like a lot of people that may be into politics, they may just vote for national elections. You know, they may just elect the president or whatever. But you really have more power and control on a local level because these are people who are more accessible to you. They might even, if you go to church or if you go to any other house of worship, they may go to the same house of worship as you. They may be married into your family. They may be living in your neighborhood. You may see them at your grocery store. That's different than a regional representative or a person that is in a political position that is on a state level, or they may be on a national level. These are people that you may never literally see your entire life. But with local politicians, these are everyday people. You know, the people that's running for office here right now, and some that are incumbents that are in the position, they have no ways near as much experience as I do, no way near as much education as I do, but yet they're in these positions making decisions to affect not only my life, but everybody else's life.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm glad you brought up the presidential election, because here in Michigan, we're facing an issue that's becoming a nationwide issue as of next year. The Supreme Court of the United States will be hearing the case about affirmative action, in granting admission to universities and colleges across the United States. So the issue we had is when it was faced here in the general election, it was not a presidential year when it was voted on. It was voted on in 2006. And because of that, as you know, the turnout is a lot more diminished for a non-presidential election. So because of that, 9 out of 10 black votes were against stopping affirmative action. And 2 out of 3 white votes were for stopping affirmative action in universities. Now we face the issue that because there are just simply more white people that turn out to the polls on non-presidential elections and on all elections, and a greater population, affirmative action methods were stopped at universities such as the University of Michigan, which is a very prestigious university. So now the Supreme Court will be hearing a case trying to decide whether or not it's constitutional on a nationwide level to offer incentives to have our universities reflect what our communities reflect. So what type of influence or what type of response are you getting, because this is a non-presidential election? Also, I want to add a note to that the Detroit just had their mayoral primary back in August, and only 17% of the population showed up and voted. Wow. 17%. This is a primary to pick your new mayor, and we're not getting people out of there. So what type of what type of movements do we need to be doing to make sure that people understand that it's important to vote every time that there's a ballot out? Yeah,
that's funny you mentioned that, because here in this city, last primary election we had a 16% turnout. You know what I mean?
We won by one.
What'd you say?
I said we got one. We won by 1 point there.
Yeah, and it's just an overall level of just apathy that I see. Right. People generally just don't care, and a lot of times they don't care because they don't have access to the information or the knowledge. They're not aware of how something can directly impact your life. So it's kind of like if I handed you a photo album with pictures in it that had none of your family members in it, it may be difficult for you to really get into that photo album and to identify with the people that's in that album. And it's kind of like the same thing that I see on a political level, just locally. A lot of people do not identify with the issues or even recognize how these issues are impacting their life on a daily basis. And one thing I've seen too is that a lot of people just lack the confidence and the belief in themselves to actually bring about change. You know what I mean? Right. For example, I was talking to it was an older white guy, and I was talking to him about some of the things that I've done in the community, and that's basically the platform that I've been running on. I haven't been trying to sell people hope, dreams, and wishes and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do when I get in office. I've been telling people, this is what I've done. This is what I do right now. Here is how you can go and research the things I've done and what I do, and then you can make up for in your mind for yourself what the potential I have given this position, because you know what I've done. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So anyway, I was talking to this guy about some of these things that I've been doing more on a grassroots level, like creating youth programs or initiatives or doing projects over here, either from my own pockets or just getting a group of people together, not just locally, but also nationally and sometimes internationally, to either support it with resources or support it with, donations or whatever, to complete these projects, programs, and initiatives. So they were never sitting there waiting around talking about, I need this federal grant or I need this money from the state in order to do it, or I can't do it. I've never operated like that. I've always operated like, I have this determined idea, and I'm going to make sure that this project is complete because there's a need for it, period. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I was talking to this guy about this stuff, and then he was like, I understand that, but, what I'm thinking about is ultimately, like, what is the bottom line for us as taxpayers? And I pointed out to him and I said, sometimes that's one of the problems with a lot of us. We're waiting for people to give us their bottom line instead of having a voice and participating in what our bottom line needs to be. You see what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people that think with that mentality. They're waiting for people to save them,
right,
instead of being self-actualized to know I have a voice. But it's difficult to have power if you don't have knowledge first. So one thing that I've been doing as well is making sure, since I have a background in youth outreach and community activism, is reaching the youth as young as possible to get them to start being orientated that way, to see knowledge as something that they need to have as a foundation to build their life upon. Because if they don't, then they'd be thinking along the same lines of a lot of these Stevens from Django that I've been running into in the community that's just not even really concerned about how, the local political scene is actually impacting their life. Right. They may think that they're really, comfortable and doing well, but it's like, well, you're really not getting what you really deserve. You're settling.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I say all of that to say that it all goes back to knowledge, having a foundation of awareness about what is going on in the environment, and then galvanizing people, being able to create lobby groups where people are able to advocate for one common cause to get things done. And you have more of a power to do it on a local level because it's smaller.
Right.
It's more difficult to galvanize larger regional movements or national movements like that. But block clubs get stuff done. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
By people that's living in the same neighborhood, and they may need something, changed in their environment, but they understand that their strength and just even those small numbers on a local level. But before people can be able to work together like that, people have to be aware.
Right, yeah, because it's a lot of people who just are almost like zombies.
Right.
When you see them in the street, they know nothing about what's going on. Sometimes people look like they'd be lucky to know what year it is. That's not even a joke or an attack on anybody.
No,
but
that's
it's
the truth.
Yeah, it's like a serious thing because we've been affected, all the way since slavery by politics and by, negativity placed upon us and negative stigmas. Like I'm sure that you hear a lot of people saying that black fathers don't take care of their children.
Right.
When we know statistics show that most black fathers are actually there for their children.
Right.
So, we have to take that same mentality in. I'm not going to listen to what people are going to say about, this politician or this policy. I'm going to investigate myself and find out what I can do to affect this policy and these laws and these procedures. What can I get going on my own?
Definitely.
What can I go research and find out about this topic to be a force, first on my street, then on my block, then in my community, and kind of build up to where we can have a stronger platform and we can link up with brothers like yourself and bring something to the table so that we can start later affecting things down the line within the region or the coast and kind of look towards the future and see the bigger picture.
It's like the fact that both of y'all are even talking on this level tells me that you already have a healthy sense of self-confidence and self-identity.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And there's a lot of people that are not able to speak confidently like that because they don't even really identify their true infinite potential that exists within them to bring about a transformation in their community.
Right.
And going back to what I said about knowledge and awareness, a lot of people have to be built up just as having a healthy sense of self-esteem before they could realize they could do or even think anything. And a lot of our people are just in that type of condition, but it takes people like us to be leaders to demonstrate that we're no greater than anybody else. We have the same degree of infinite potential, but we've self-actualized that. Right. And we do have the ability to transform our communities. But people have to see it, and that's why it's important. Like you have a radio show like this, and me doing what I'm doing, other brothers and sisters doing what they're doing that's young in different cities around the country, because if people didn't have that example, then, you know, at least we're giving them something to look towards.
Right. It
To
would all
say,
be a
well, I
mystery.
know that this is real. You know what I mean?
Right. It'll all be a mystery if we weren't here having this conversation right now.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
we gotta
yeah.
give credit where credit
It's
is
like
due,
I've,
too.
I've been inspiring so many people just because I took this step. And, you know, I have a unique name. You know,
Right.
I'm not
You got one of them ethnic names.
Yeah, yo, that's what they say. Oh, it's so ethnic. You know what I mean? But and at the same time, it's like I've not compromised my integrity.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I still speak the way I speak. I still say things the way that I say things, and I'm not selling out. And that was important for me to show people too. You know, that you can participate and be involved without being other than yourself.
That's very important.
And that's one thing that some people shy away from too, because they think like, yo, when they see the people that may be out there, they like, yo, that's corny. That look corny. I don't want to be like, you know, walking around like that, or, you know, smiling and stuff when it ain't nothing to smile about. Or they look at it as like, yo, you that's some sellout stuff.
Right.
Instead of realizing that, no, you can still be who you are, but you're just getting access to something to represent people who look and think and feel like you.
Right.
But you just need to support me in this.
Exactly. We know exactly what you mean by that.
Right.
Because, you know, this radio station is torn down daily from what you call Steve is from Django. You know, torn down daily. Because like I said, this is all we have. This is it.
Yeah, this is our platform, and you know, a lot of us don't even appreciate it, so we can't expect to get the due that we have coming from the rest of society if we can't come together and, you know, get an understanding of our own, of how important this is.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. You know what? One thing I found too is that you have people who are like that put in positions to be gatekeepers on purpose. You know, and since I've been running, like I said, I'm running on the Niagara Youth Party. It ain't no Democrat, it ain't no Republican, nothing. I'm for the people and I'm for the community, and I wanted to make that clear. As I'm communicating that message, now I've had people from both political parties coming at me on the fly, like, yo, we be willing to give you this. We be willing to do this for you. Well, why don't you want to think about this? Why don't you want to think about that? You know, basically trying to buy me.
Right.
And because I don't have none of those political alliances, or nobody's paying my bills or nothing like that, you have some people who are in those political positions as gatekeepers who are getting money from somebody over on the side, or they're living with this sword above their head where they're not in a position to say something over there because they're going to get cut from this side or get cut from that side. And unfortunately, you know, the issue that y'all talking about, I see the same exact thing around here too, because as soon as I announced, I mean, like I said, I was cool as long as I was this grassroots political organizer and, you know, working with youth, and hey, that's nice, you're doing a great job. But as soon as I said, yo, I'm going to run for political office, because if I'm doing all of this on this level, think about what I'll be able to do given this so-called title and these other resources.
Right.
As soon as I said that, and I made that a public announcement, these same Negroes who may have been working in alliance with me on a local level, it's like they just got real quiet now. Now they acting all funny when I see them publicly. You know what I'm saying? Or they may talk to me in private, but as soon as I started to see that, I'm like, oh, okay. You must be getting some money or something from somebody else on the other side.
I'm glad that you said that, because, you know, a lot of people, you know, you could tell in their tone, they assume that we have an agenda.
Right.
You know, a lot of times when they hear us speak about certain things, or, you know, we've actually had people from the Tea Party, you know, try to make little passes or try to do little slick things in order to interrupt our conversation or our flow. So, you know, we know exactly what you're talking about, but we're glad that you said that, so people don't think that we have an agenda or some type of allegiance with you, to try to push an agenda amongst the people on these airwaves, you know.
Definitely.
Because it's nothing like that, you know. It's all about educating the people so that we could get ready for our own elections and our own situations here. So is there anything in particular that you want to add on before we
one jewel you want to drop on the people of Grand Rapids real quick
before we, you know, wrap up and kind of give people a break, because, you know, people can't, you know, take all of this knowledge over, you know, just heaped on top of it.
Yeah, like
I
said, I just want to emphasize that knowledge is the foundation. Knowledge has two words in it, know and ledge. If you don't know the ledge, you will fall over the edge. So it's important to be aware of what is going on in your environment, because if you're not aware, you have no ability to positively affect what's going on in your environment. And like I said, each arena in life has its own naming system. It has its own language. It's called nomenclature. Politics is no different. Sometimes people use certain words, just like doctors, to talk over your head so that you don't know what's going on.
Right.
And unless you can understand what's going on, then you won't be in a position to make the proper decisions in your life that is affecting not only you, but it's affecting your family, it's affecting your whole entire community. So we cannot afford to be ignorant. We cannot afford to be ignorant, because if we're that way, then that's the type of standard that we're passing on to our children, and that is going to be a predictable future for our children, which is not going to be a bright one. So it's all about knowledge. We have to be aware. And once we have that knowledge and we're aware, then we can make wiser decisions on what we should support or what we should endorse.
Definitely.
Well, we want to thank you, brother, for stepping into the Cipher with us here on 94.9 FM. This has been Saladin Allah from Niagara Falls, New York. We've been talking about politics and what's hip-hop about politics. We want to thank you for your time, and we also want to thank you for putting them videos out there on YouTube and slapping that pork chop out our hands.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate y'all giving me this opportunity to just speak to my people and just, you know, to be a positive asset, you know, because I've had mentors and people in my life, and I still do, that's been helping lead me in the right direction. And you know, it has to be reciprocal. We have to give back.
Right.
So thanks for the opportunity.
So where can people reach you at real quick?
People can go on Facebook, and my legislator page is Saladin, and it's Saladin for Niagara County Legislature. They can reach me there. And then also they can reach me at, if they want to email me directly, they have any questions or anything like that, they could email me directly at atlantisbuild@gmail. And Atlantis is spelled exactly how it sounds. Atlantisbuild, that's one word, @gmail.com. And then also if they wanted to check out some of my YouTube videos, they can just go to youtube.com/Quanaya, QUANAAH, and I have a lot of vlogs that I have on my page just talking about various different social, economic issues, family, culture, religion, diet,
and pork chops.
You know, whatever I've been experiencing or what I've been researching, and, you know, they can follow me there.
All right, well, once again, brother, we appreciate it.
All right, thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
All right, peace.
All right, peace. Y'all have a beautiful day.
You too. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been Saladin Quanaya Allah from Niagara Falls, New York, giving us a little information about politics. Well, a lot of information. A lot of information about politics. You know, we all definitely have gotten smarter after that interview. And, you know, we appreciate that. You know, that's a brother I have a personal connection with who bettered my life. And, you know, it's a good thing we were able to use him to add on to Grand Rapids as a whole, because we definitely need to hear that when we go into these different political marches that we have coming up.
Right.
A lot of things coming up.
Thanks for entering the Cipher.
Thank you. So,
throw me a song.